Good evening and welcome to the October 1st, 2024 Hartford Board of Education Workshop Meeting. We're glad that you've joined us today. Thank you to my fellow board members who are here today and for the Hartford Public School staff who's here to present to us. And thank you to the viewing public for watching this evening. We're glad that you've decided to join us. Staff, as you go to present today, please be sure to know who you are and what your role is at the school system so that as we're learning and as the public is learning as well. So with that, I will turn it over to Dr. Torres Rodriguez. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us, and I kindly ask Ms. Santiago to please help us with the presentation. And tonight we will have a presentation truly focused on two aspects of the work relative to our talent management team and office. One is focused on the talent acquisition, right? Recruiting staff, those strategies, and some of the impact. And then also focusing on development and performance management, specifically retention strategy. So we'll break the presentation into two. And if it's okay with you, Chairperson Hockenhall, will pause after the first section and then, engage in dialogue and questions. And in addition to some data trends on recruitment, retention, and some of our diversity, there are slides here as well that attempt to get at answering some of the questions that we have received, also relative to specific investments that we have made in marketing and the impact of those investments, timing, and trends relative to resignation. So we're trying to kind of paint the broader picture, but also be intentional in responding to some of the questions and wonderings that we have heard from you all. And so with that, I'm going to welcome our team from our talent office, and I'll turn it over to Connie Nieves, our Executive Director of Human Resources, to take us through the presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Torres Rodriguez. Good evening, everyone. Dr. Torres Rodriguez and board members. My name is Connie Nieves, and I am the Executive Director of Human Resources for Hartford Public Schools. It is a pleasure to be with you tonight to discuss the state of talent of our district, Hartford Public Schools. As Dr. Torres Rodriguez mentioned, we will begin our grounding in discussing two focus areas of talent management. Our presentation tonight will focus on two key areas, recruitment and retention. During our recruitment section of the presentation, we will review some of our recruitment strategies, which include our marketing campaign with Adams and Knight as it relates to our employment applications, vacancies, and our overall hiring season information. The second part of the presentation will focus on our retention strategies as it relates to our certified teachers. During this segment of our presentation, we will review our resignation trends, our intent to return survey data, and additionally, we will take a look at some of the challenges and the opportunities that will help steer the district in retaining certified teachers. We'll start by discussing our recruitment strategies. Please note that while I'm sharing this information regarding recruitment, this also is a retention strategy, and we'll see that throughout the course of this presentation. We have successfully supported programs such as the Grow Your Own Relay program with 10 participants this year. 70% of those participants identify as people of color, and 80% of whom were paraeducators in the district. Please note the funding to support this program is supported by our Alliance grant. Additionally, we continue to strengthen our partnerships with our colleges and universities. We have placed 67 student teachers through our partnerships, and most of them are of Connecticut-based universities. The other thing that I would love to highlight, part of our Buckley High School public service pathway and teacher prep pipeline work, I'm happy to report that 16 students who are juniors and seniors from Buckley High School have enrolled in college courses at Central Connecticut State University at no cost to our students. Our recruitment team has hosted or attended about 29 recruitment events this year. Despite our efforts, recruitment from historically Black colleges and universities have been challenging due to certification reciprocity issues. We continue to explore solutions such as focusing recruitment on Connecticut students attending HBCUs. However, this has not yielded much success. Most of our teachers of color come from area colleges in Connecticut and surrounding Northeast states. Our paid media recruitment campaign with Adams and Knight ran from March to August of 2024, and it generated over 2.1 million impressions and drove nearly 21,000 visits to our careers page. Social media platforms, particularly LinkedIn and Meta, accounted for 54% of the traffic. To simplify this, for every 100 advertisements, 13 people click through our website. So with that ESSER funding that our office was able to obtain, Adams and Knight ran the ad campaign from March through August of this year. We consistently see a sharp decline in applications in the month following the conclusion of an ad campaign. In hiring seasons 22-23 and 24-25, when the Adams and Knight campaigns were limited or not running, application volume by month displays similar trends. The hiring season 23-24 sees a significant spike in applicants at April through July when ads were peaking. With a decline in our application pool, we also saw an uptick in our vacancies. In this chart, you will see that special education, sciences, language, speech, and hearing, and our TESOL roles continue to have high vacancy rates. At the bottom of the chart, we listed the Connecticut State Department of Education vacancies that were reported in August of 2024 as a snapshot. It was reported across the state that there is consistent challenges with special education shortages across the state, with a total of 338 special education teacher vacancies. We also have other numbers here, 754 vacancies that are across the state as well. The Office of Talent Management hired a total of 342 employees this year. This includes certified and non-certified staff, full-time and part-time. Out of the 342 employees, 135 were certified teachers. Out of those 135 teachers, 47 were classroom teachers. We also hired 17 new special education teachers, 23 elementary, and 14 TESOL and bilingual teachers, just to name a few. The new staff diversity data is outlined in the graph on this slide. Overall, we saw a slight improvement in diversity, with 34% of our new certified staff identifying as people of color. But there is a slight increase from the year 23-24, where we were at 32.34, and now we're at 34.62. We can pause here for questions on the recruitment part.
Mr. Walker?
Thank you. Let's see, Director Nieves, what I want to see on the previous chart is let's always spike out Black or African Americans. Then we need to break out BIPOC. It's too general. And yeah, that's what I wanted to understand.
I believe we have that data.
Yeah, I'm just asking you to present it. I think BIPOC to me is too, it doesn't answer the mail. People are asking us, African American or Jamaican. People really want to know um, Latino versus Black versus, so I'm just saying BIPOC, at least for our audience, to me, doesn't quite answer the mail of what people really want to know.
Understood. And I think we could, we did have a version that broke it down, you know, more granular than what we presented. So that is something that we could give to you.
Thank you. Ms. Fortune?
Thank you. At the last board meeting, one of the teachers who spoke said that many other school districts are using a different software for applying into education jobs, whereas Hartford is using a different program. As I understand it, someone who wants to apply to Hartford schools has to do an entirely different application than what most other districts are requesting at the moment. Do we have one, please clarify if it's incorrect. I've heard that now from multiple sources. So do we have any plan to try to get on the same system as other districts? Because it seems, even anecdotally, I've heard that it's just really discouraging for people to have to do this entirely different application just to apply to, you know, Hartford Public Schools for a role.
Ms. Nieves, I think it's Applitrak's versus Frontline to be, I believe so, right? Ms. Fortune, is that way? Applitrak specifically? Yes, I see some not head.
I don't remember the names. I just remember that we're not using, you know, it's like everyone's using the FAFSA, for instance, and we're using something else. Like, we just, why is there that disconnect? Because it seems like we're trying to be out there to recruit and tell people to come in and apply, but then it's this additional burden for them to apply because we're using a completely different system than other comparable districts are using.
Thank you for your question. So yeah, we did have Applitrak a few years back, and so Nimble is a new application system that that we have currently. So if the question is, are we looking to go back? Is that the question?
I heard it sounds like Applitrak is more of a universal tool.
Yeah.
And people are saying that Frontline creates an added new platform. And if we're trying to hire a recruit from, just like others are, is that becoming a barrier? Are we posing an added barrier?
I mean, I can tell you from someone I know personally who entered the workforce again, who applied to Hartford schools and other districts and ultimately went elsewhere, that to her was a barrier. That did make it this additional step to apply into Hartford Public Schools that she did not have to do for the other schools.
I think you know, you're right in that Applitrak is more of a bigger company than Nimble, and so it does, most districts are using that. So I believe that there's a feature where if you applied you know, at one location or one district that you submitted an application for, and you apply to another district that also has the same portal, it's easier to kind of transfer a lot of the information. But you know, I want to tag in someone from my team to kind of speak about some of the challenges that we had with Applitrak and some of the you know, opportunities that we saw with Nimble as far as like receiving data and you know, that piece.
Sorry, can we just clarify the name? So I've heard Nimble, I've heard Applitrak, I've heard Frontline.
So
Which
Nimble
one
is
are we using? Okay.
Nimble is our current application tool.
Okay. Is Nimble part of Applitrak?
No, it is not.
They're okay. So we're currently using Nimble and most other districts. So what's the relationship between Applitrak and Frontline?
I think I'm not 100% sure, but when we had Frontline, again, I'm not 100% sure about this, but Apple Track is part of Frontline, I believe. It's a module within Frontline.
Connie, if I may.
Yep, Elsie, you can jump in.
Perfect. So AppleTrack is the recruiting and hiring module within the larger Frontline system. Frontline offers a variety of products geared towards K-12 education, everywhere from recruiting and hiring through time and attendance and absence management. It's a larger ed tech company. Nimble is a smaller ed tech company, but they are able to offer us greater customizability and just a lot more kind of flexibility in the data that they're able to provide us. And therefore we're able to do much more with that data in terms of what we report out. And so that was one of the major benefits of us switching there. It has also been a particularly fiscally responsible decision in terms of the cost comparison between the two systems.
Do you have the figures on the cost?
So Nimble is $35,000 a year for our application and onboarding systems. I don't have the numbers for Frontline anymore, but I do believe that that contract was just over $100,000.
I mean, sorry.
Repeat that amount. I'm sorry.
I don't have the exact cost of that contract in front of me, but I do believe that it was just over $100,000 a year.
So I think I understand the reason for the more fiscally responsible vendor to save money, but I think when we have such a large vacancy and we're competing for applicants, if we're adding any burden to applicants, we're essentially, whatever benefits we're gaining from the marketing that we're doing, that we're paying for to try to recruit teachers, I think we're losing some potential applicants if they have to do this extra step to apply to Hartford. And also we're paying less than most other districts. So I think that's right, that let's say it's a $70,000 savings or $100,000 savings. I think maybe that's something for the district to consider. Is it really, is it worth the trade-off at this point if the view is among teachers and people who are applying for these types of jobs that this is an additional burden? I don't have the answer, but I just thought I'd raise it because I think the people in this meeting are the ones with the expertise to help guide that decision.
Thank you. Ms. Brody?
Thank you. Can we touch on the, because I know usually when the contract comes up for whomever we're using for recruitment, that links to data, right? That we were told for multiple years that it was difficult to get. So if we are able, I would like someone to speak to the data that it allows us to get, because I was frustrated with what we could not get previously. So that's the first question. The second question is, I always have the question of other vendors are able to find people. So what have we been doing or planning to do to get the people that they're able to find for ourselves? Because I know we're not discussing a particular contract per se, but I'm just trying to understand that ahead of time, since we're talking about recruitment.
Ms. Brody, a clarifying question. Are you referring to, for example, the vendors that we contract out for agency staff?
Yes.
Certified staff? So
yeah, like
if you can speak to, what do you know about some of those vendors. I know that one of the things we've said in the past is that for, I believe it's a speech and language one, that some of those services are delivered remotely. And so that might be a reason why for that specific group. But if you have any insight as to any other group.
I can answer the second question first, and I'll tag my team on the first question. I think recently we received information about an agency for special education teachers, and they gave us, rates in which we would be charged, for them. And as I did the math, we would be billed about 90,000 to 110,000 in salary for each agency worker that we hired for special education. Without knowing a lot of, there's a lot of unknowns, but that means that if I am a new certified special education teacher, and at the very minimum, I can make $90,000, right? The agency would have to at least make some money out of it, right? So let's just put a number, $20,000. They're making $70,000. Our contract is for teachers who are just finishing our, in the low 47, 48. And so it's really hard to compete with the money piece. And that's, like one particular thing that I've seen to why special education teachers may be attracted to working for agencies. But that's just, one particular piece that I've seen as far as, the salary piece. But I'll tag in my team to discuss the first question that you asked regarding like the data.
Is it my connection or hers?
No, it's hers, because I was just about to say the same.
And the information that we're able to pull from Nimble.
Can I, before we move on to the question number 1, can I ask more about question number 2?
Sure.
And maybe I'll clarify why I'm asking question number 2. I don't like the idea of temporary staff. I like the idea of our staff. So I don't understand when we're saying a higher salary. Like, I totally don't understand that. I would think employee would want to have benefits, pension. Like, I thought that was more attractive than like a temp agency. So I don't understand what was being said about the 900,000 to 110 salary. But I guess my question really just was, there are people out there, and to the superintendent's point, the people who are finding that are all over the country and they're remote, and everyone is seeking out these individuals. I get it. They're not around. We gotta, provide these services to, our students who IEP say they need this service. I get that. But I'm talking about these in-person folks who are around here somewhere because they're showing up at our schools, but they're working through the temp agency to get, like, what plan are we coming up with to employ them as our staff? That's basically just my question. I totally understand the folks who are just a shortage all around the country.
I think we're gonna dive deeper into our retention strategies in the next section of our of this presentation that might be able to answer those questions.
Okay, I'll wait. So I guess the data piece, this new more cost efficient system, and it gives us more of what we need. I guess that's my only other lingering question.
Perhaps, yeah, I was gonna say maybe Elsie, you can answer all the kinds of data displays?
Yeah, happy to help here. So I know that some of the frustration in the past has been that we have not been able to export demographic level data on a candidate by candidate basis. And while this is still the case, with Nimble, we do have a little bit more granular data around where folks are falling out of the hiring process. And so we have a little bit more of a granular view into where folks might be needing some support to pull candidates in. Are they falling out before they, like, are they all sitting in this draft? Are they falling out in the interview process? And then what supports that we can give along the way to ensure that folks are making it through the interview process at a time, or through the hiring process in a timely manner, so that they're at the greatest place to accept those offers when we make them. And that's just something that we don't get with Frontline.
And I just wanted to say through you, Madam Chair, for the newer board members, that has been a big thing, a big ask over the years. Because when we're saying, well, what happened to them? They weren't ever able to tell us that. So this is, I think, an answer to what we have been asking for a long time, as far as like, how many are applying? What happened? Did they make it to this point? Like, we were trying to figure out like why the amount of people that applied, and then the amount of people we're hiring, like what exactly is happening. Those were some demands made along the way that I'm thinking we're able to start to address. Thank you.
Thanks for that context, Ms. Brody. That's very helpful. Ms. Ledger.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you for, the presentation thus far. I wanted to just say, with regards to, as an educator, with regards to Apple Track, the feature of being able to import part of your, like, the resume, the questions that are similar to, the other questions that you're asking when, or not that you, but the other employer is asking, or the other district is asking, all of that can kind of be transferred over. But I feel as though there's an issue with regards to making it easier for individuals to apply, but it almost feels like, the district is kind of like being slammed for trying to save money or trying to be more efficient or cost effective with regards to using a different software. If the software is not working, that's one thing. But if it's working, I'm curious to know what are the benefits to having, this particular software. Also, what other districts, if any, are using this software? What led you to purchase this particular software, aside of being able to save tens of thousands of dollars?
I can jump in here a little bit on the history of why we moved to Nimble. We have been using AppleTrack. We also had used Talent Ed. AppleTrack is a company under Frontline. And although it is used by many districts in central Connecticut, it is not used by outside of Connecticut. Not as many districts use it. It is not as user-friendly and not as intuitive for the applicants. And we like the ability of Nimble to pull the data for us in a dashboard that was user-friendly for us to use, and also give us more quick insights on the spot information as to the candidate experience, because we want to make sure that our candidates are having a very good experience when they apply, and also through the selection process that we understand where they are, where there are gaps, and then that way we can address it. And that is actually something that we are going to be doing with our Increasing Educator Diversity Plan, is actually looking at some of that data of our candidate history in regards to the timeline, because there are some areas that we as users and hiring managers can improve upon. The other piece of it is that Nimble, yes, it is cost effective. It also, because we have limited staff, it allows us to automatically have our jobs posted to several job boards, including Indeed, ZipRecruiter, which is something that it doesn't sound like a lot of time, but when you have to manually put in advertisements on 10 different sites, it is a barrier to us being able to get that information out there quickly and also in a cost-effective manner. So that's just some of the information as to why we went to Nimble. There are definitely, you know, we do hear from some candidates who say, oh, you guys don't use AppleTrack, but I also hear from candidates who say, oh, that was a pretty easy to use. So I think it's also a matter of people just getting used to using different systems. It's unfortunate if someone wasn't able to apply. We make ourselves available, and Nimble is also very responsive to us as a district in regards to our suggestions, and also to candidates. They have really great customer service as well, which is pretty immediate. So that's just some information about Nimble itself.
So thank you. And so if individuals are struggling in any way, shape, or form to complete the application process, there is technical support, or there is support that's offered through the district?
Both. So myself and the other recruiter and Elsie are available to assist, but they also do have a support service that an applicant can connect with if we aren't available to.
Okay, thank you so much.
Ms. Fortune?
I am unmuted. Thank you for offering some of this clarification. Again, I think, you know, I'm new to this, and I hear the criticisms, I think, are usually louder, but I think it is worth considering, just as we as a district appreciate the convenience of having a user-friendly way of posting these jobs. I think we have to also think of that end user who is the applicant, and how convenient it is for them to apply, because we're the ones with these vacancies that we're trying to fill. And there's lots of jobs that they could apply to. So I think we just have to consider and weigh the pros and cons of our convenience versus their convenience.
Yeah, we actually assessed in October our previous year cycle of recruitment and selection. And one of the aspects is looking at the application, the questions we ask, how can we make it quicker? Because if you can't apply within 5 minutes, data shows you're going to lose candidates. So looking at the questions that we have to ask, the ones that maybe we could collect in another aspect once they're hired, but looking at that information to make it a better experience for our users as well is definitely something that is front of mind when we're reviewing the processes that we use.
Thank you. I do have a follow-up question, if that's all right. Do we have internal procedures within the team within hiring and recruitment as to when someone applies, what's the time frame to reach out to them? Who do we offer an in-person interview with? What the follow-up process is like, to ensure that if someone has taken the initiative to apply, that we as a district are adding that personal touch to encourage them to come to us, which I think, being a district with additional challenges and also lower salaries, I feel like it's not an option. We need to be doing that to just attract candidates. So can you tell me a little bit more about what we do?
Sure. So during the busiest times of the year, which are really, I would say in the spring and summer, we change up how we approach our candidates. We also have had some cuts in our department that haven't allowed us to connect directly one-on-one with our candidates as we had, especially with our certified candidates in the last couple of years, because we had additional funding from ESSER to provide for some of the additional staff to review candidates, connect with them, let them know what their next steps were going to be. So the way that it works right now is that candidates, when they do apply, they do receive an email letting them know that their information has been submitted. Depending on the role, we give them some information about what next steps could be depending on that role. So if it's a talent pool for our teachers, they are told that they are in a talent pool. If there is an opening, that their information will be reviewed and that they will be contacted by a hiring manager. For other roles, it may be that it's the hiring manager who it's one role that they're posting right now that they need to have a hire, and they will be connecting with the candidates directly themselves. But it all depends on the position and the role.
So generally speaking, if someone applies and they are a desirable candidate, when would they actually end up having a human on the other line trying to reach out to them?
So if you're a certified role, it would probably be within a week, if not sooner. But we also have limited staff for that right now. So unfortunately, we're not able to get to our candidates as soon as we would like if we had additional staff for that.
Okay, so I mean, it strikes me as a little bit unusual that we know we have unprecedented vacancies, and yet we have a cut to the department that's supposed to be filling the vacancies. That's just, right? 1 and 1 doesn't add up in this case. I think, right, if we're trying to fill vacancies, we need people who are going to be very on top of applicants and trying to fill those vacancies. So I'm curious to know if there are plans to try to further support the team that does the hiring and the following up, because, you know, I have a small sample size here, but as I understand it, other districts are inviting people in for interviews within less than a week, and they're being a lot more aggressive with pursuing candidates, and they're offering a higher salary. So it just seems like that the deck is already stacked against Hartford, and now we don't even have the factors that we can control. It seems like we're not controlling the personal touch that we can add. We're even missing that to some extent.
Team.
Can I?
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, if I can speak to, I think that's a good point and well taken. And I think the challenge we face, which I think you all know very well, is when we passed the FY25 budget, we cut about 18% of central office positions, and that was across all departments. And certainly we're having these conversations about, you know, what are the potential pain points that surface as a result of that. And keep in mind, we also, several of the position reductions in the Office of Talent Management with the FY25 budget were positions that were only brought on board with the advent of ESSER funding. And then with that funding going away, we didn't have the ability to sustain those positions. And I think the challenge we face, and certainly we welcome the ongoing dialogue and the ongoing feedback, but the challenge remains, you know, we've all heard very similar comments at public comment around administration and trade-offs between teaching positions and administrative overhead. And, you know, when we talk about our budget and our budget proposal, we were very intentional in that the level of reductions in administration were significantly higher than the level of reductions at the building level. That was intentional and I think the right decision in terms of supporting what's happening in classrooms, but we are wrestling with some of the challenges that creates for the team here at Central Office.
One other thing that I was going to add is that now that we are right a few weeks into the school, and we can step back and look at our vacancy lapse, Ms. Fortune, right? It can give us flexibility, though temporarily, right, to address what you are lifting. It's not a savings for the long term, but at least, right, we could potentially leverage some of those funds temporarily to support the team.
Thank you for adding that. I think that was going to be my next thinking. If ESSER funds can cover these positions, we have all these vacancies. Mathematically, that means that we have a pot of money designated to salaries that's not being paid out as salaries that could be used to help. Or am I misunderstanding how that process works?
You're not misunderstanding it. Oh, and we did build in as part of our budget deficit, leveraging some of the vacancy savings. So we're watchful of that. Nonetheless, I think that we have an opportunity to step back and explore. For example, one of the things that we're leveraging some of those savings for is to have our hiring bonuses for shortage areas, which I think I'm going a little bit ahead into the next part of the presentation. But just wanted to highlight as an example, Ms. Fortune, that we're trying to be innovative with the savings that we have, while making sure that we're not compromising the mitigation strategy that we had identified for the budget.
Thank you.
Mr. Walker?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I thought Tatum had a question, but if he's not on, let me start with our last point, Superintendent and Chief Foster. I'll let you guys do the reorganization. The request I'm going to have is my expectation is that you guys sit down with us and really go through how things work with reorganization. Like, your leadership reorganization was pretty significant. So one of the things I think that would work is to have a conversation about, okay, with the significant change, here's how we're going to do things. Like, it was totally seeing me that you had a significant cut in OTM. And so I had a question mark over my head of, okay, how do I execute their roles? That's the conversation we should have. Really have the conversation, because it's out of that conversation that I think we can come up with new ideas. I'm gonna put one on the table right now, right? So I'm believing OTM really needs to leverage the staff across the district, the certified teachers and instructional staff across the district, that you could put together as to kind of extended supports to ambassadors to your recruitment team. Kind of what Ms. Fortune was talking about is you put together a recruitment strategy. So what we've done at other companies is HR runs the play, but you have a lot of, let's say, teachers part of your recruitment team. So when you hit somebody in recruitment, to Ms. Fortune's point, your ambassador becomes a person that can reach out and call that recruit that you talk to, because OTM is always going to be busy and short-staffed. But if you build out ambassadors that can help you with calling and following up, but you have to do it with your teachers, right? You've got to kind of build them and train them somehow. But we have lots of resources in our district and community that can help in this recruitment, whether it be connected through the university they went to, or area of the country, or sorority, or fraternity. There's lots of ways to build these ambassador teams. But that would come through some conversation of how we're going to deal with this shortage, because there's not a chance in the world we're going to hire enough people physically dedicated to do everything we want to have done. So that's one of the reasons I just would suggest is really talk about how this reorganization could work, so we can begin to talk creatively of how we can do some things with our limited resources. Now, the questions I wanted to ask, maybe to Nevis, but the other representatives here now, I had asked the question of our gap numbers. Like, right now, we reported close to 200 people in shortage. Maybe I think we said 194 in a meeting a couple of weeks ago. I wanted to know what that number was when we entered last year. I wanted to see how we were last year in terms of how we are this year. Because as a board member, I want to understand, just for me, how we are this year versus last year, and all the initiatives that we've run. And I had another question, but I will stop right there. I know I had that question about what was potential numbers in essence of September 2023 as we came into that year versus this year. And you don't have to have it right now, but I would like to get that number so I can see it in front of myself as a point of comparison. And the other thing I just asked about, let's look at our reorganization to begin to talk about how we can do these things more creatively with this greatly reduced staff. And I don't just to respond, Shante, that's not true. That wasn't true when I worked. There's lots of ways to compensate people. There are people who are actually interested, because the people who feel the gap are people at the school-based level. If you told them they could be actively involved in helping to get people to their school to kind of close their gap, they could be pretty interested in helping you in reasonable ways. right? And there's ways that you can that they can be compensated. Nope, not even that. I'm really telling you, it has to be of the willing. There are people, believe me, who really will be interested in doing this if offered. And even if you had to compensate them to what superintendent's saying, the one-time little compensation you would do for staff to support you is much less than hiring permanent staff to do recruitment year round. So I just want us to be open to just be creative about how we could make this possibly work. That's not management. This is about us problem solving. We believe in our children. This is about making suggestions as a team. As a team, we're trying to create solutions to help ourselves, right? Now,
Mr. Walker, I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt you real quick. Can we
okay.
Can we have the superintendent answer your first question there so we can move along to, I'm sorry to interrupt.
I think I just wanted to clarify, slide 9, team. I just want to see if there is an additional data point that Mr. Walker would like to see, the comparable, yes, sorry, slide 9. The heart. Yes. Mr. Walker, just clarifying, asking vacancies last year compared to where we are today?
Mm-hmm.
No, that was not your question?
Yes.
So here we have an aerial view of that. I mean, we don't have the total, so we can add the total at the bottom, but you see for each area.
So is that 764 versus 654? Help me understand. What am I?
We'll have to add the column, but I just wanted to understand if that was the data point that you were asking.
Yes.
2 comparables. Yeah. So we can get that information for you. Absolutely.
Yeah, I thought well, yeah, because you presented it last year. It just gets lost sometimes in our conversation.
Sure. And then the other thing that and I know there was some commentary in the chat. One of the things that we've been reflecting on is the cuts that were made across all of the departments at the central office level. And, all of our departments are saying they're all feeling it, like our schools as well. And I'll give you another example. This was a conversation that we were actually having today with members of the Blue Ribbon Commission's Operations and Finance team. They were asking us the same questions about the capacity and the implication around the finance and operations and grants management. And right now there are 3 positions, for example, that the state team that is doing the state fiscal management inquiry has identified as we need to bring back, or strongly suggesting that we bring back. So I just want to acknowledge that I hear all of you. I hear you, Ms. Fortune, right? That it's the department, and I also hear you, and we're going to try to solve for that. And I hear you, Mr. Walker, and I'm trying to balance what I keep hearing, which is please do not put anything else on top of the plate of our school-based staff. I hear you that people want to be involved. It's just I think a fine line given what I'm hearing and where we are kind of going as it relates to like the cadence of the school year, right? Quarter 1 is gonna, come to an end in a few weeks, and then we're gonna get closer to the holiday, and that becomes to get a more challenging time across schools. So all of those things are playing out for us. I'm probably saying more than what you were asking for, Mr. Walker, but I'm just trying to highlight the complexity of it all while trying to address, right, the fact that we have all these vacancies, and I think I'm circling back to your point, Ms. Fortune, all these vacancies. And so which of the pain points, right, do we release? Which pressure point do we release? Is it that we start temporarily with talent, for example, which is probably it.
So if I can, through the chair, I think to put a period on it, I'm suggesting that it's worthy having a session to discuss things like this, so we can look at this strategically, not necessarily do a back and forth here. The only thing I was kind of going back and forth when I was looking at the chat from board member Brody is that at this level, at the governance oversight level, us making recommendations to you is not micromanaging. You will always still make the final decisions and make the choice of what to do, but it would just be, it just underserves the purpose for us not to provide the best counsel or the best of ideas we can to you, and then you take those and you make the best that you can do in terms of the situation. But Superintendent, if I can end with this, the question that you were asked in terms of when have we cut too much? I've been asked that question too, and I can't quite answer it. And so I would love to have, that kind of discussion to figure out, have we cut too much here? Because the question I ask is, can you, as a district, execute your task? And I couldn't quite answer that totally, because I don't know exactly. So it's worthy to have that conversation, I think. Thank you. That's it.
Mr. Walker, with that, I'll turn it back to Connie.
Thank you. All right, so this portion of the presentation will talk about our recruitment strategies. So we'll get started. So year over year, the Office of Talent Management receives a high number of resignations on or after July 1st, with the majority coming after August 1st. One common theme that we hear from employees is that they fear losing their health insurance coverage if they don't, resign before August 1st. To combat this, OTM has worked to reassure employees that as long as that they're an active employee through the end of the school year, they will maintain their insurance benefits through August 31st. However, the fear of losing their medical insurance benefits stands strong. And that's, a normal theme that we hear in our office. The way that this chart reads, during the 24-25 school year, we received 77 resignations from certified teachers from July 1st through September 1st. Out of those resignations, 56 or 73% were received on or after August 1st, which is a challenge and a pain point for, our hiring managers across the district. Over the last 3 years, resignation rates among our educators globally have remained relatively stable. Reassuringly, when we drill down to our teachers of color, we see a resignation rate decrease, which means we are progressing positively in our retention of our teachers of color. The Office of Talent Management provides a survey to all of our certified teachers. We sent our intent to return survey in February of 2024 and had a 65.6% response rate. This is about 1,000 teachers. Encouragingly, about 85% of respondents indicated they plan to continue their current position. However, about 7% who were considering resignation cited dissatisfaction with benefits or salaries, workload, and school climate. As mentioned in the chart on the right, it gives the district a glimpse of the top reasons for teachers who took this survey who were considering resignation. There is, as I mentioned before, there is a pain point as we have, competition in surrounding towns as it relates to salaries. The data collectively is in line with national studies of why educators are resigning. Based on the McKinsey research, while there is no single factor that drives teachers to leave or stay, studies show that teachers who are thinking of leaving or resigning cite compensation, and unreasonable expectations as their top motivators, which is aligned with what we have here with the workload and school climate. As we dive deeper in our intent to return survey data, we'll go over what this information means. Teachers were given an option of selecting up to 3 actions that promoted their support from their school leaders. In other words, 3 actions they experience at their, at their schools. Between those who reported that they would stay in HPS and those who thought about resigning, there is a clear distinction between each category. So let's take a look at one example. The first prompt provided me with regular positive feedback. Of those who wanted to stay and continue, about 61% reported that they received regular positive feedback. As opposed to those who were considering resigning, only 40% received regular positive feedback. This trend follows for each prompt. It is noteworthy that those who were considering resigning, about 28% reported that they had no action identifiable of their support as teachers. So while this data is can be challenging to take in, there's many opportunities for the district, us as leaders, to support our teachers that have minimal or no cost. For example, ensuring that we have tools to support leaders so that their way of work is prioritized and includes providing consistent and regular feedback, to encourage our educators to remain in teaching, and to give opportunities to be in charge of something important at the school level. As part of our what's next with this information is we're going to be taking a look at the data of our schools and administrators and what they're doing to keep the retention of teachers in the building, what the protocols are, what the processes are, so we can have a baseline to kind of turnkey that to the rest of the district. Okay, now we are talking about our recruitment strategies. And again, these serve a dual purpose for our retention as well. So to attract talent in our hardest to fill certified position for the school year 24-25, Hartford Public Schools will provide sign-on incentives for up to $5,000. This initiative is part of our effort to ensure we are competitive in attracting qualified candidates to our district. We are also expanding our Grow Your Own initiatives. Hartford Public Schools is working with 2 local preparation programs to create additional residency programs for non-certified staff interested in becoming educators. This expansion is set to begin in the school year of 25-26. Hopefully we're approved to use our Alliance grant funding from the state to support this new expansion. We remain committed to improving the recruitment, hiring, and retention of teachers of color. Through our increasing educator diversity plan, we aim to increase the diversity of teacher candidates available to principals by 5%. We're also ensuring data collection on the employee life cycle is accurate for more than 85% of candidates, and aiming to increase retention of educators of color by 10%. The Office of Talent Management's plan for Department Excellence and Accountability, or PDEA, will have a focus points that will promote positive culture. To ensure fiscal responsibility and sustainability, we will prioritize improving customer satisfaction by establishing clear expectations for timelines in responding and requests and ensuring the timely handling of our inquiries. Part of our retention strategies involve continuing to administer the intent to return survey. As you've seen in the previous slides, our teachers provide, that feedback to us as, why they may be resigning, and we need to use that information to ensure we're combating the satisfaction amongst teachers. Our office also plans on piloting a partnership program with school-based staff to support in the development of their retention plans. Our PDEA also focuses on increasing retention of our educators by providing a robust onboarding experience in the district with the Office of Talent Management and at the school-based level as well. As I mentioned before, our increasing educator diversity plan and our plan, you know, for the PDEA has a laser focus on retention. The district also is starting a strategic plan work stream that will focus on the highest impact opportunities to recruit and retain diverse staff. So this will engage not only members of our staff, but also leaders across the district. Looking forward, you know, there are opportunities that, you know, unfortunately are funding dependent. But, you know, to continue attracting candidates, you know, we will be seeking ongoing funding for signing incentives for our new hires. We see a higher application pool with the support of a marketing campaign. So it is our aim to secure funding for a comprehensive paid marketing campaign to ensure hiring managers have the largest and highest quality pool of applicants. When our office or our team members met with UHeart and CCSU to partner and expand residency programming for non-certified staff. In those same conversations, we discussed opportunities for current certified teachers to be cross-endorsed to hard-to-fill areas like special education. You know, this is a great opportunity for us to invest in our internal teachers. However, this also would require additional funding outside of the tuition reimbursement program benefit for teachers. Also, you know, having some of the challenge that we've had in our office too is going from 4 to 2 employees in our recruitment team. And, you know, currently we're in negotiations with the Hartford Federation of Teachers. While improving the competitiveness of our salary is a priority, we are mindful of our fiscal constraints. So in closing, as we move forward, we remain committed to ensuring that Hartford Public Schools attracts and hires and retains high quality educators. I'll open it up for questions.
Connie, any questions from fellow board members? Mr. Tatum?
Thank you for that presentation. I'm wondering if in addition to some of the data that you're getting from the intent to return survey, about the status of any kind of exit interviews or exit surveys that are done for those folks who are choosing to leave?
I'm gonna tag Nancy or Elsie on this question.
So we do currently have an exit survey process that is still running through Qualtrics. There was a period last summer where our SFTP, or the way that Qualtrics gets our data nightly, was interrupted due to some staffing changes within the department. So we did get that running again as soon as possible. Surveys resumed in September of 2023. We are currently realigning our exit survey to match up with our intent to return survey a little bit better, so that we can really be more intentional about the data we're collecting and how we use that to improve our practice.
If I can I, okay, if I jump in on that?
Yeah.
I just wanted to say too, for tonight, the reason we brought you the intent to return and not the exit, we know that the board has asked us for exit survey, and we can certainly share that data. The reason we focused on intent to return tonight is because, frankly, we just have much higher response rates. So with an exit survey, right, somebody's on their way out the door, they may or may not want to take the time. And so because we had that high 65% response rate on intent to return, we do feel like there's more reliability and generalizability in that data. We can certainly share the exit survey, but I just wanted to be upfront about why we brought you the intent to return this evening as opposed to the exit survey. And it's really just around response rate and generalizability of the data.
That's a fair point. I'm just looking at, one of the things about the intent to return survey, and I would need to like do some actual math to figure this out, but most of the people who are filling out the intent to return survey are intending to return. And I know that it does have, a higher rate of response from people who even are leaving than the exit surveys might, but just, a 65% response rate that has of the entire district, only 50, if I'm looking at the math right, only 15% of those people are people who are not intending to return. So I think there is something to a survey that is specifically geared towards the folks who are in that smaller subset of people. And I think you have the similar problem with the intent to return survey. If I'm on the way out the door, sure, it would be nice for me to let the district know that I'm not intending to return, but in the same way as I might not want to do an exit interview, I might not bother filling out that survey. So I would suggest that we not let the exit survey data and the idea of collecting it slip. And I'm glad to hear that it has been restored.
Mr. Walker?
Thank you. I'm just going to elevate this the same. It was requested last year. So the team just going to have to be really aggressive with people and repetitive. I think people actually want to give exit survey information, but you're going to have to go after them. The thing I want to ask was the departure data. For a while, we were given the number of people who've left the district by different categories. Can I have that again too? I've lost track of it. So maybe going back to like 2020, 2021 to now, so I can see the trend of yearly departures from the district.
So just to clarify, are you referring to this data here? You want it broken down by certification area?
Yeah, because to me, I thought was teachers was closer to 150 to 200 a year in recent years. So this doesn't seem to reflect that to me. So some of it does, but yeah, if this is it, then yeah, I just want to make sure that we can do it by like certified teachers or paras or whatever, and how many folks have been leaving. Because I just want to see if yeah. And the other thing I'd ask is to let's do a session where we really target in on retention. I really want to lift up retention. What I hear a lot is teachers not being listened to, OTM not being responsive to teachers, teachers not getting good service from OTM, teachers not getting good feedback from leadership. And so you should be hearing that too. It shouldn't be me hearing that. And to me, these are that I'm going to call it broadly quality of life issues for teachers. And so those issues to me are not just salary but other ways, other things we can do. And I really just want to see a real, just a lot of digging in, like every little thing we can do to make a teacher feel more valued is what we should be doing to keep teachers in the district. No teacher comes to Hartford because it's the highest paid place in the world. But if they come here and feel like they can't make a difference, then they're out. And so that's all I'm saying. And so I'd like your group to really dig into that, which to me means I should be seeing you guys do lots and lots of talking to teachers and other staff and coming back with some, here's what they told us. Now, would make a difference.
Mr. Walker, I think you're frozen. Oh, you're back. Are you set? Sorry.
I'm done. I'm just saying that. So if I'm talking to
Understood.
Dr. Nevis, I'm saying that let's come back with some analysis where you've talked to, a couple hundred teachers, had some sessions, got some data, collaborated team. They done work for you. They reported back to you. Here's from the bottom up what we think would really make a difference for teachers.
Thank you. Mr. Tatum? Oh, I'm sorry, Connie, did you want to
Can I
say something?
respond really quickly? Thank you for that feedback. Part of our PDEA does respond to that dissatisfaction with response times and the dissatisfaction with the Office of Talent Management. So that is something that I have a laser focus on with the team. We did our first workshop to address these concerns. We're working on a mechanism where we get feedback from teachers about our service because we are in service of our staff. So I hear what you're saying, and currently we are working towards that. I do like the idea of having that outreach to teachers to see from what you mentioned, what actually matters to them. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Ms. Fortune?
I think that addressed a lot of the questions I would ask, so I think I'll pass it on to the next person.
Thank you. Ms. Brody?
Yes. So I want to be careful in this space in the sense of if we think because we talk to a select amount of staff on issues that we have, it's our job. Everybody from students, families, staff, it's our job to hear from them and to provide some level of advocacy. That doesn't escape me. But when we are asking or telling, right? That's why I was mentioning in the chat earlier. I didn't use the word micromanage. That was compared to maybe something I said. But we say what results and what we want. We hire staff, and particularly our one staff, the superintendent, to figure that out. We know what we want in the end, and the superintendent is to figure out a way to get us that. So when we get deep leveled and detailed into telling her how to do it, that's what I have a problem with. But when we're talking about what staff wants and our ideas for it, I would like for the union that represents these groups of staff, for them to be asked, because they represent, for the sake of this conversation, they represent the teachers, Harvard Federation of Teachers. So that leadership needs to be asked, and it's their job to hear from the teachers at large to give us that feedback to do a job. So I know we can say, oh, we're hearing this, we're hearing that, and okay, that's going to be acted upon, but that should not be acted upon without contacting the voted in leadership of the Harvard Federation of Teachers to engage the teachers and give us the feedbacks of all teachers. So I just want to caution us in that regard. When we're talking about the teacher's voice, what they want, what they don't want, how they feel, we don't give orders here and you act on what we say. You have to engage that leadership in that action always. That's all I wanted to say.
Thanks, Ms. Brody. Mr. Tatum?
I just had a quick question about the slide that was up previously about the departures from July through August. I wonder if, and I get that this is a hard thing to capture, but I wonder if you have a sense of the folks who are leaving or letting us know that they're leaving after August 1st. You cited the issue of a fear that they would lose their health insurance. I wonder how many of those folks like already knew they were leaving and they had something lined up before August 1st and they just didn't officially resign until after August 1st, as compared to folks that landed a new job sometime in August in this like August shuffle situation and maybe genuinely didn't know whether or not they would be returning after August 1st. Do you have a sense of that?
So I don't think we have data that that can differentiate those two, but hearing from administrators, sometimes they know that someone already is hired to another district, but until we have an actual resignation letter, we can't do anything about it. They are still owed that position. They're still our employee. So we see that. We see, you're right, where someone applied maybe in the summer, they didn't get selected until the very end of August. That is common as well. But I think the most that we hear is people knowing that they already have something secured, and they're just holding on to their resignations. And we try to speak to administrators to let them know, hey, if you submit it now with an August 1st or August 10th date, that they'll still be provided with their insurance and proper payout, should they decide to resign. So unofficially, we do get that a lot here in our office.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
Thank you. I just have one quick question, and it's on this slide here. The 2021 to 2022 resignations, does that have to do with a pension or something like that? Were there a bunch of retirements that year? Or was there another reason that year was so high with resignations?
I'm not sure. I would have to take a look at it further to see, what the trends might have been that year.
Okay. That would be great. I was just curious why that one was so much higher. It was such an outlier for the other years. So just curious on that one.
That was a tough school year. Oh my gosh.
Any other questions from fellow board members? Okay. And it looks like the superintendent had to drop off. Christine, was there anything else we needed to cover today?
Nope, that is it.
Wonderful. All right. Thank you again to my fellow board members for your great questions. And thank you so much to the Hartford Public School team for your commentary tonight, for answering all of our questions and for giving us a presentation. We really appreciate your time and energy, and to the public for watching. Thank you for taking interest in this matter, and we look forward to seeing you all again soon. Thanks so much and have a great night. Take care.
Thanks, everybody.
Night.